How's it going, guys? Today's topic, I want to discuss what you must know regarding the differences between annuities versus IRA accounts. So the way on how I set up this video is I want to go over some interesting topics on what's an annuity, what's an IRA, can you actually leverage annuities within IRA accounts, when can you not leverage annuities within IRA accounts, and most importantly, how to avoid the most common mistakes. If you understand what these mistakes are, you're aware of these mistakes, and you know how to effectively avoid them, what does that do? That sets you up on a path for retirement success. So ultimately, at the end of the day, how can you make sure that you're avoiding the most amount of stress from your retirement life? And how could you make sure that you're setting up the pieces properly to optimize all those different lanes, removing that financial stress, and when you're going throughout retirement, you're ultimately removing deathbed regrets. So when we take a step back, what happens when an individual is nearing retirement? First off, they're looking at, if I'm no longer working, how am I going to be getting paid throughout retirement? So they're going to be taking an inventory of what their different cash flow systems are, whether that's Social Security income, whether that's pension income, whether that's income from an inheritance, whether that's income from real estate ventures that they've participated in, whatever that case is. But understanding if they're no longer working, they're no longer bringing that occupational income. So the combination of what their income streams are need to be greater than or equal to what their expenses are. It's a very easy concept. If your expenses are $80,000, but your guaranteed cash flows are only $50,000, well, then you have a gap there. So whenever an individual has a gap, and typically, 9 times out of 10, an individual does have a gap, maybe they're not offered a pension plan or they don't have those rental income streams and they just have to rely solely on Social Security income, and that Social Security income is not going to be greater than or equal to their expenses. So now they have to take an inventory of what their accounts are. So as they start nearing that date, they're saying, okay, I have contributed monies into a 401k account. I've contributed monies into an IRA, a Roth IRA, maybe a Roth 401k. I've sold a business. I've sold a house. I have this cash sitting here. Those are known as non-qualified accounts. Maybe they have 457 plans. They work for a municipality or they a thrift savings plan because they work for the federal government. Whatever that case is, you have to think of each individual account like an individual bucket. Now, each bucket basically serves its purpose. It's typically set up for some sort of growth trajectory. So as the individual was working for the last 10, 20, 30 years, whatever that case was, they were accumulating dollars into these buckets. They were making contributions into the plan. Maybe they were getting matching money from their employer. And then the combination of their contribution side and the rate of return that was coming back based on their different investments, that's what determined how large this bucket was by the time that they're looking at it when they're nearing retirement. So if an individual has a gap, which is typically the case, well, then they're looking at their buckets and they're saying, okay, hopefully the market should be good to me. Hopefully my accounts will last as long as I do. And, I'm not going to outlive my retirement savings. So in that example where somebody has an expense of $80,000, but they only have $50,000 of guaranteed cash flow needs, $30,000 is the gap. If they mess up on their withdrawal strategies, and they're doing too much hope and they're taking too much aggressiveness with their portfolios, which are a combination, which their portfolios could have volatility involved, that's a large problem. Taking money from an account that could potentially go down and not actually having a fixated withdrawal related strategy for, in that example, the $30,000 cash flow, that could completely blow up in an individual's face. So this is where individuals start thinking, okay, maybe I should be more conservative with my money. Instead of being more aggressive and really chasing those returns, I need to make sure that I'm having consistency and then leveraging the consistency to therefore be able to take out withdrawals, and hopefully I don't live past age 80 or past age 90 or 95. And there's a lot of hope involved with that sort of strategy. So this is where annuity accounts could come in and could help out an individual for having some of that longevity-based insurance. They could look at what their portion of their overall assets are and say, okay, an annuity is ran through an insurance company. If I put X amount of dollars into this account and then I turn on lifetime income for either myself or me and my spouse, this is going to give me some sort of baseline of income that we cannot outlive. So when we take the combination of the annuity income stream plus the Social Security income plus the pension income, whatever that is, and you mathematically compute it the correct way, well, then it allows you to say, this is what my income streams are. I'm no longer working, but I'm receiving all this cash flow throughout retirement. And then this is what my expenses are. My expenses are probably going to increase with the cost of living, basically the cost of inflation, the cost of living adjustment in there. So you want to make sure that you're teetering up certain scales to make sure that as increases in costs, as costs increase, you want to make sure that there's something that's correlated to that increase in cost to basically match it at each level, at each step, every few years. So that's where individuals get scared, because you have so many different options out there. You have so many different strategies. You could say, okay, I want to be, still leverage an accumulation play and leverage investments, but then I also need the income, regarding my goal, regarding my situation. That might not work. I want to leverage an annuity, but there's over 1,000 different annuities for my specific age and my specific state. How do I know which one is a good one versus which one's complete, excuse my language, dog shit? So that's where you have to be very careful. First, be cognizant of it is possible to go and create these different strategies, and you really should have a strategy. Don't just guess, because the individuals that guess in retirement are the individuals that have to you either go back to work in their 70s and their 80s because they've just basically ran their well dry, they've ran through all their different assets, or they have to have a significant decrease in their lifestyle at that point. They have to move back in with their kids or their grandkids, and which is very humiliating to some individuals. So that's where when you get the stage right, when you're a couple years out from retirement or you're currently retired, and you're super stressed that you're going to outlive your retirement savings, you're stressed that downward market losses could really impact your portfolio, your chance of success, and really just stressed that you don't know how to stop working. Like, what's that exact date I have to stop working so I could start living the retirement I envision as quickly as possible? That's where, by understanding these concepts correctly with IRA strategies and annuity strategies, it can really help you out and could take away that stress. It could take away the anguish so that you could just truly live every day understanding you're having that monthly retirement paycheck, and you've already calculated what it is that you need so that you have as much leftover money as possible. In that example where $30,000 is the gap, but let's say somebody has aggregated totals of assets that accumulated to $700,000. Well, maybe out of that $700,000, they only need $300,000 of it to get set up in a proper IRA account that's triggering lifetime income to that individual for them and their spouse. So now what happens? Now they have $400,000 remaining that could be used for emergency needs, could be used for growth needs, inflationary, hedges. They could be used for a safe accumulation related accounts, fixed related accounts, more of that fun money, that vacation fund, that mess around dollars. But you need to make sure that you're at least having your baseline covered first and foremost. And that's where you should not just jump at every opportunity. You should be very mindful of what's available, and then make sure that if you're placing a dollar into anything, it has to give you max benefit. As I mentioned, you might have over 1,000 different options. The difference between first place versus fifth place could be thousands of dollars, could be years more of you having to work, be longer because you did not leverage the correct strategy, the correct product, the correct process. And it could really, come up and bite you when you really needed this time to glide into retirement and alleviate all that financial stress. So what are some of the most important questions and misconceptions around annuities versus IRA accounts? And I'm going to give you different examples with each question. We get these questions all the time, so that's why I kind of wrote down the four most frequent questions. And a lot of times individuals don't understand, and they say, is an annuity different than an IRA? Now understand, an annuity is an account that's set up through an insurance company. You could fund an annuity with non-qualified dollars, meaning from cash accounts, different, non-qualified. You liquidated mutual funds, you turned it into cash. You sold a home, sold a business, turned it into cash. Or you're taking it from your checking savings account, and that's where you're using to fund the annuity. And that's the only source that individuals understand. They say, oh, I have to have cash in order to throw into annuity. And that's not the case. An annuity could also be funded by IRA accounts. So a way on how an IRA, a customized IRA, could be created through an annuity is, let's say if somebody's working for a company for 10, 20, 30 years and they've accumulated dollars in a 401k account. Very common. What happens is when that individual is nearing retirement, let's say they hit age 59 and a half, or they stop working for that employer, they're eligible to take those dollars out of that 401k and roll it over into an IRA account. When rolling it over into an IRA, they could take a large portion, they could take a segment of whatever that 401k account is, and they could roll it over into a customized IRA held within an annuity. So you could have an IRA that, let's say, is set up with a Schwab or a Fidelity, and set those up with different, mutual funds or stocks and bonds and ETFs or whatever that is. That's one type of IRA. You could set up an entirely different one with XYZ insurance company that's meant for an income need or a safe accumulation need or a combination of different features. So an IRA is not different than an annuity. You could have an annuity, a non-qualified annuity, and that is different than an IRA annuity. But if you have money that was saved up, that was set up for retirement needs, for retirement accounts, such as existing IRA accounts, Roth IRA accounts, those could be created within IRA annuities. So you could have a traditional IRA annuity. You could have a Roth IRA annuity. You could have non-qualified annuity. So it's just those different tiers. So be mindful that the way on how an individual would leverage an annuity for retirement income planning, and that very easy example would say, okay, I have a 401k, it's sitting at $500,000 as an example. I want to go, and because I stopped working for this company, I want to go take this money and roll it over into an IRA. So maybe they could take the full amount and put it into an IRA that's set up with a common custodian, such as a Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever that is. And now it's basically sitting there. You could now transfer portions of that IRA directly into the IRA annuity. So you could either do a rollover from the 401k into an IRA annuity, or you could already have an existing IRA that's sitting there. And then after the day that the IRA was funded because of the rollover, you could transfer those dollars into specific portions into the IRA annuity. And that's where probably the most important aspect of an IRA annuity should be used. Don't put more dollars into an IRA annuity than what needs to be in there. So like in that example, if there's $500,000 that an individual had in a 401k and they roll that over into an IRA, and now they want to take that full $500,000 and transfer it from IRA number 1 to IRA number 2, because IRA number 2 is a IRA annuity. Did it require them to actually put the full $500,000 into that annuity IRA? Because typically 10 times out of 10, they're throwing way too much money than what needs to be into the annuity. So this is where backing up into the math makes sense. So if you have one company that says, okay, your need is $30,000 as an example, that's your gap that you have to hit. You might have company ABC that says, if you go and you set up an IRA annuity with $300,000, and you wait 1 year, you wait 1 month, whatever that situation is, and you trigger your lifetime income stream, you could be receiving that $30,000 of lifetime income cash flow for either you or your spouse based on really the mechanism that you set that up in. Versus company XYZ, maybe that might require $360,000 with company XYZ to be placed into that IRA annuity. And that's still going to get you the $30,000. So when we take a step back in that situation, IRA ABC or company ABC that has an IRA annuity, that only requires $300,000. Company XYZ requires $360,000. They both give you the same benefit. Why would you put in $60,000 more dollars into the inferior product than the superior product? Sometimes you might have different features. Sometimes there might be different ratings with those different insurance companies. But for the most part, if all things being equal, you have to look at the math involved and say, I want to use the smallest amount of effort to get me the most amount of income, or use the least amount of effort for the largest amount of bang for my buck. So that's how to structure them out properly. So when an individual should use an IRA annuity, probably number one reason should be for income related needs. And then number two, for just a safe accumulation related, growth related needs. So like as an example, let's say somebody's income needs are already covered, but they want to use an annuity like a fixed annuity because it's paying higher than bank CDs, and they want to have it for a longer time horizon than a typical bank CD. They can leverage an IRA annuity that's meant for purely an accumulation play, a consistent growth play. Maybe it's a naked fixed index annuity that grows when the market goes up, it doesn't lose when it goes down. Those are different reasons when an individual should be using an IRA annuity. When an individual should not be using an IRA annuity, and this is the most common mistake, is they might be contacted by a variable annuity company and say, hey, if you go and you put your full dollar amount, your full IRA into this, we're going to go and create it with company ABC, and it's going to give you a little bit of everything. It's going to be leverage different investments through sub accounts, through mutual funds, and it's going to increase when the market goes up. It's going to lose when the market goes down. But we're going to have this income rider basically sitting here that's going to give you lifetime income. That's a jack of all trades type product. And that's typically when an individual should not be leveraging it. Leverage an annuity for income when you know it is the best possible annuity that's going to provide you the highest amount of income. Leverage an annuity for growth when you know it's going to be the best possible solution that will give you for growth. The reason why I absolutely hate variable annuities with income riders is it acts like a duck boat. A duck boat is a half boat, half car. It could drive on land and it could go in the water, but it makes a shitty car and it makes a shitty boat. Can it do both? Sure. But when you look at a variable annuity, it could give you income and it could give you growth, but at what cost? They are extremely high in fees. They're typically set up with anywhere between 2% to as high as 5-6% in fees per year onto that account and still susceptible to downward market risk. So that's where you have to be very careful with whenever you're looking to use an annuity and you say, hey, I have this income gap. The whole purpose of leveraging an annuity is because I don't want to try to invest these monies myself. I want to make sure that somebody understands the actuarial data, they understand the mortality tables, they understand the law of large numbers, and they understand my age and my time horizon is going to be the best possible in my situation in my specific state. This is why I want to put a single dollar with this, or this is why I want to throw, 50,000, 100,000, whatever that case is. But it's all about backing up into the math. First off, finding out what your income gap is, and then closing that gap with the smallest amount of effort, with the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary in there. So I hope that makes sense. And then lastly, do I have to use the annuity offered through my employer plan? This is something that's been more common recently. What happens is annuity accounts, because they provide that lifetime income stream, you might have one company that says, okay, we have this 401k and we'll also give you this annuity option. Typically that's one company. So if you have over 1,000 different options and you're typically above the age of 55, below the age of 74, you might have over 1,000 combination of different annuity accounts. The likelihood that that one company that's being offered through your 401k plan or your employer sponsored plan is going to be the ultimate solution is going to be slim to none. Can it theoretically be? Yes. Realistically, you're going to be shooting yourself in your foot and you're going to be spending thousands of more dollars in the wrong direction by getting handcuffed with that one company than going out there and seeing, okay, which one's going to be the best one for my specific situation, for my time horizon, for either me and my spouse based on what my age is, what my spouse's age is, and all those different features involved. That's how you're able to back up to the math correctly. And understand, if you mess this part out, or if you mess this part up and you do it the wrong way, this is going to be the difference of you throwing away thousands of dollars, of having to work longer, of not being able to properly retire, to have more financial stress than what's necessary, and prolong that happiness, prolong from you being able to do exactly what you've always dreamt of, getting to that retirement stage. When you do it the correct way, this is where an individual can truly have bliss. They understand, okay, I place these dollars in there, I use the smallest amount of dollars, only as much as necessary, and accomplish my income need based on my other income situation, my different cash flows. Excellent. It was a perfect sliver that lined up, in that mathematical component. What do I have left over? Well, I want to leave a little bit left over for emergency needs in case of an oh my gosh moment was to occur. That's fine. I have about 6 to 12 months of my expenses. I'm going to leave that into some sort of money market account or some non-invested position. And then step 3, this is my fund money. Great. I want to go and now leverage the market. I want to leverage some accumulation. I want to leverage some safe accumulation strategies, whatever that case is, to make sure that you're keeping pace with inflation. Maybe anytime that account has a good gain, you take an extra trip that year, you give extra presents to your grandkids, you purchase a new membership at a golf club, you go fishing more, whatever that case is. But that's what's possible when you're staggering things out in a 3-thing scenario: income, emergency, and growth. But make sure that you're not throwing too many dollars into each individual lane. You want to make sure each lane is optimized. Why would I go place my money into something that's not going to be efficient? And this is where the big mistake is made, is individuals will try to leverage a preservation and distribution strategy for an accumulation related need, or vice versa. Like they might want to say, oh, well, I feel as if this annuity income is going to be a really good solution for me because it has this roll-up feature on there, but not understanding that roll-up feature is not a true growth on that individual's money. They'd be better off going into some sort of no-load mutual fund or low-cost ETF, or sitting in a cash position, whatever that case is, something that doesn't have fees, that's not going to get them to what they ideally see as their accomplishing their ideal goal. So always make sure you're sticking to each lane, or you're segmenting each goal for an optimized lane, but you don't try to commingle those lanes. You don't want to use an accumulation strategy for an income-related need. You don't want to use an income-related strategy for an accumulation need, vice versa. And that's how you're able to save the most amount of dollars in your pocket and have that peace of mind that you will never outlive your retirement savings, and you will remove that financial stress and ultimately remove those deathbed regrets. So obviously, I went through a whole slew of different, information regarding annuities, IRA accounts, but at the end of the day, figure out what is most important to you. What are your goals? And if it's very hard to really understand what the budgeting is, how to determine, how much income that your current inventory is going to be bringing to you, what's your current inventory of your different assets, how to make sure that you're closing up your gap effectively, efficiently. How should you use the correct strategies when it comes to an income-related strategy versus an emergency strategy versus a growth-related strategy? Death benefit maximization. All these different things really work in tandem with one another to make sure that an individual could truly live every day throughout their retirement without that financial stress, without those deathbed regrets. If you found value in this video and you want to speak to somebody to really help you out, hold your hand through that process and really just see if this is something worth mentioning, to say, hey, your current trajectory, if you just make these very slight tweaks, you could get to your finish line very easily. Or maybe what you're doing right now, do not change a thing because everything is set up for a perfect scenario. Just having that second opinion, understanding that you cannot make this mistake as you are close to retirement. If you make these common mistakes and you throw too much money in the wrong areas or you take too much risk when you shouldn't, what will happen? You could run your well dry. You could have to go back to work. You could have to work longer. And what's that doing? That's removing you from getting to that destination that you've always dreamt of, getting to that ideal retirement date to start to really stop working and start living as quickly as possible. So that's something that we try to take that stress off your table. If you're interested in speaking to either myself or one of my other advisors, you could simply call the 1-800 number up on the screen and basically reference this video and say that, hey, I saw a video online about the differences between annuities versus IRAs. And it was very interesting. I want to speak to a specialist more about my specific situation. Call 1-800-566-1002, or you could simply look at the description of our video, and we're going to have a digital calendar link so you can set up with the time that's most convenient for you. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to subscribe or comment to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.